after him telling you about that small scrape and you seeing it, you clearly didn't see a need to get an ambulance or some type of medical treatment, right?
Right.
In fact, at that time, on November 8, 2021, you discussed with Mr. Efron if any medical treatment, what if any medical treatment he already received for that small scrape. You asked him about that, right?
Yes.
And what he told you was, I just treated it myself on the day of occurrence, right?
Correct.
Now, you were asked by Mr. President about the reported statements that Mr. Efron made to you, right?
Yes.
Okay. And to be clear, when Mr. Efron made all of his statements to you, he had a civil lawyer standing next to him, right?
Yes.
Now, you said you asked Mr. Efron why he waited 2 days to report the incident, and he told you because he wanted to have a lawyer present with him, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did Mr. Efron tell you that another reason he waited to report the incident is because he was attempting to contact Mr. Mayor's quote-unquote people, including his manager, Mr. Mayor's manager, trying to get money before he even contacted a lawyer? Did he tell you that?
No.
In fact, Mr. Efron never told you that before coming to see you, meaning before he made his report to the police, that he had already texted a screenshot of his scraped fingers to Mr. Mayor's manager with messages saying that he, Mr. Efron, was getting rich. He never told you that, right?
No.
I'm asking him overall. And the answer was he never conveyed that to you, right?
Correct.
Right. In fact, Mr. Efron also did not tell you that before coming to the police, he had already sent a text message to his own business associate saying, quote, I want to get this N-word's money, referring to Mr. Mayers. He never told you that either, right?
Right.
And Mr. Efron also did not tell you that before making his report to the police, before he came to you, Mr. Mayers texted him that Mr. Efron was trying to extort him, that Mr. Efron should stop calling Mr. Mayer's manager, and that Mr. Efron should call the police. He never told you any of that, did he?
He did not.
Thank you very much. I don't have anything further.
Thank you.
Mr. Sullivan, how long did you estimate your interview of Mr. Efron was?
Approximately maybe 20 minutes.
And included in that 20 minutes, some of that time was in you actually writing down or documenting things on your report?
Yes.
Is your report a verbatim transcript of what Mr. Efron told you, or a summary?
A summary.
The gun that Mr. Efron reported was pointed at him. Did he tell you what kind of gun it was? Meaning, was it a revolver or semi-automatic?
He just said black handgun.
Okay. Did you document something in your report that it was a specific type of gun?
I'd have to review the report.
What did he tell you?
It was a semi-automatic.
Okay. You were asked about latent fingerprints. How many times are you aware of latent fingerprints being lifted off of cartridge cases?
I wouldn't know the answer. Many times.
I mean, have you ever received a latent print report documenting fingerprints on fire cartridge cases yourself personally?
No.
Okay. I have nothing else.
No, Your Honor. All right, thank you, Officer Anderson.
Thank you.
Next witness.
My next witness is Detective Flores.
So the state of the testimony you may give in the cause not been this one. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Please take a seat on the witness stand there. Again, please state. Let's spell your name.
Yes. First name is Frank, F-R-A-N-K. Last name is Flores, F-L-O-R-E-S.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sir, would you tell the jury what your occupation and assignment are?
Yes, I'm a detective of Los Angeles Police Department, assigned to our robbery homicide division.
Were you also in that assignment on in November of 2021?
Yes, I was.
How long have you been a police officer for?
Just over 29 years now.
Were you one of the assigned detectives on this case?
Yes, I was.
Who were your partners on this case?
I was assigned along with Detective Carlos Camacho and Detective Danetta Benedict.
And were you and your partners assigned this case on November 9th of 2021?
Yes.
After you were assigned to this case, did you go to the location where the crime occurred, and specifically to Vista Del Mar and Selma Avenue in the city and county of Los Angeles?
Yes.
What was your primary focus in returning to that location?
The primary focus was to canvass the area for cameras, witnesses, any evidence related to the incident that was reported.
And when you say cameras, would that be like surveillance video footage?
Yes, I mean anything private, public, anything that would capture events that night.
Okay, I'm going to show you what I marked as equals 1. Do you recognize the area that's depicted here?
Yes.
Okay. I can turn on the little screen for you too, if that makes it
Okay.
easier. It's not going to get back to this.
Okay.
When you went back to that location, were you able to observe surveillance camera footage from any locations in that area?
Yes.
Would you point out any of those locations on the map for the jury?
Yes. So there was a large area that was canvassed. Argyle here would be on the west side, south side, Selma, Vista Del Mar, which is the north-south street, which kind of dogs right, comes east-west, and exits out to El Centro. Was also canvassed, along with, I believe, Hollywood Boulevard as well. So roughly the entire kind of block with the side street of Vista Del Mar in between.
Okay, we've heard about this location, 6200 Hollywood Boulevard. Can you point out for the jury where that location is on this map or graphic?
Yes, 6200 is pretty much the entire, encompasses the whole block. It's a very large property, which encompasses from Hollywood down to Selma, down to Vista Del Mar, and then Central on the east.
Okay. Would there be, you said all the way down to Selma, but would these buildings right at the northeast corner of Argyle and Selma, those would be separate from 6200?
Correct. Kind of cuts off right around the bend here, Vista Del Mar down.
Got it, okay. And we also heard reference in Mr. Efron's testimony to the W Hotel. Can you point out for the jury where the W Hotel would be?
Yes, the W would be here on the west side of Argyle. There's a large kind of lobby entrance, parking entrance here. I believe this is it here. Roughly mid-block between Hollywood and Selma on the west side of the street.
So right where it says Argyle Avenue, you were pointing just to the left of that, those kind of two white lines. Would that be the driveway that would drive into sort of the valet area of the W Hotel?
Correct. That's my rough estimate, yes.
Okay. The locations where you observed surveillance video from, can you point out those locations?
Yes. So the first point was the parking structure off Argyle, which is roughly just here on Argyle, on the east side of the street, just north of Selma, the parking area where the first incident took place. As we continued the path south and then east, as we began northbound on Vista Del Mar, there were cameras here at, I believe it's a 1616 Vista Del Mar, which is a kind of privately owned building. And then beyond that, there were cameras attached to 6200 Hollywood Boulevard. In the windows, roughly kind of on the bend here, on the exterior of the base floor of 6200, kind of the rear end. As the street opened back up to North El Centro, there was an additional camera here at the, it's roughly described as a kind of a loading dock to the building, which is on El Centro, just north of Vista Del Mar.
Okay, Your Honor, if I may mark my next exhibit equals 33. It's a single-page document with a photograph of that area of Vista Del Mar and Selma with annotations and markings on it. All right, Detective, I'm showing you what I marked as equals 33. Do you recognize what you see here?
Yes.
And you see a number of red boxes, the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Correct.
Are those each locations where camera footage was retrieved from?
Yes.
Let's start with 1. Would that be the parking structure that we talked about?
Yes.
All right, just to the left of the 1, you see the green triangle with a green arrow in it.
Yes, I do.
Can you describe for the jury what would be represented roughly by that green triangle and arrow?
That would be roughly the angle of the camera, which was under the parking structure, kind of awning at the entrance. And the camera faces northbound towards Hollywood Boulevard, which would be the first major street up.
Okay. And you observed video from that location, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to show you people 14. Do you recognize what you see there?
Yes.
And can you orient the jury as to what we're looking there in relation to what you described on the prior exhibit?
Yes, this is a southbound view, looking at the parking lot where the camera was, the first camera was located, where the incident first began. So this would be a southbound view towards Selma, which would be right where this intersection is on the bottom end of the page. So northbound view of the camera, looking south.
Okay. And when you were pointing out where the camera was, you were kind of pointing underneath the, kind of to the roof area underneath where that parking lot driveway is, correct?
That's correct.
And I think you were specifically closer to where, I think it says restricted entry.
Yes, roughly there, that area.
Okay. After you observed the video at that location, were you able to obtain a copy of it?
Yes, after canvassing the area, we were able to get copies of different videos from different areas at different times. But yes, we did end up getting a copy of video from this specific camera.
In order to get that specific video, was there anything that you had to do?
Yes,
What was that?
there was a search warrant authored to get copies of video from specifically this camera and the adjoining camera on the El Centro side of the loading dock.
Okay. So what you're talking about is the number 1 and the number 4 on People 33?
Correct.
Okay. I want to stay with the parking lot first, though. I'm going to pull up the video from that location. Now, on People's Exhibit 15 here, there's 2 files in a folder labeled 6200 Hollywood Boulevard, WNPM. And I'm specifically pulling up the one that says commercial parking entrance. Now, one second. Sorry, it's really hard to read from here. Where I have it paused right now, it's at 9 minutes and 42 seconds in this video. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
The entire amount of video that you collected from there, was it 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 6 seconds long?
Yes.
And was there a specific time that you started that specific time when the video started that you collected?
I believe we're looking at roughly around the time of the incident,
Would it have been around 10 o'clock?
roughly 10 o'clock.
Okay. And the video that we're seeing here, would this be the raw video footage that you received from that location?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to just play it forward a few seconds. Detective, can you read the time that it's paused there at?
Yes. It shows 10 minutes, 15 seconds.
Okay. I'm going to mark my next exhibit, Your Honor. 34.
Yes.
It's a one-page document that has 3 still images from this parking lot video. They're individually labeled A, B, and C on the page.
Yes,
And what would that be?
that's from the camera that was recovered at the parking structure.
Now, would you tell the jurors just a little bit about your background, training, and experience when it comes to firearms?
Well, I wouldn't consider myself an expert, but I've carried a firearm as long as I've been a police officer. Prior to, I've attended training days, qualified, had marksmanship, safety skills with firearms. So I have a good basic understanding through my job and through some extracurricular training days.
Now, in the course of your 29 years of experience, have you had an opportunity to use both semi-automatic pistols and revolvers?
Yes, I carry both.
Are you generally familiar with the difference between those two types of firearms?
Yes.
And could you describe that for the jury?
Yes, a revolver is kind of the older technology for the firearm, the original firearm. It's a wheel gun. It's a wheel where the gun is manually loaded with the ammunition, and after you fire, you have to manually unload it. Meaning, there's a lot more handling of the weapon. When you shoot it, it doesn't eject casings like a semi-automatic handgun. So it's also generally a lower capacity weapon, meaning most revolvers are limited to 5 or 6 rounds of capacity. A semi-automatic is more of a modern era weapon. It's a magazine or cartridge fed weapon, which can hold a large capacity of rounds. Anything from a small semi-automatic can hold 5, 6 rounds up to 17, 18 rounds, depending on the size of the semi-automatic handgun. When you fire that gun, the difference is casings eject. Anytime you fire it, the casing will eject from the handgun to clear the way for the next round. Versus a revolver, when it fires, the wheel just spins to the next available chamber. So.
A big difference in what you can see in the two guns is that wheel that you're describing on the revolver, right?
Yes, the revolver is fairly distinct.
And when you watch this video or even observing the still images on the screen up there, based on your background, training, and experience in law enforcement and handling both semi-automatics and revolvers, what is your opinion with regard to what type of gun that is, specifically between a revolver or a semi-automatic pistol?
No doubt, semi-automatic.
Okay. We'll move on to the next location. So, equals 33, and focusing on location number 2. I believe you already said in your testimony that that location was 1616 Vista Del Mar Avenue, correct?
Correct.
And you said it was a private building, privately owned building, correct?
That was my understanding, yes.
Okay. When you observed video from that location, were there a number of cameras attached to the location?
Yes.
Now, I have People's 33 up here, which I think will make it easier for you to explain, but if you would, could you explain generally how those cameras were, what direction those cameras were facing that were attached to that one building?
Yes. Well, basically, if you're looking at the green cones, they represent a camera that was facing in that specific direction. So the property kind of sits on the corner of the bend that goes from Vista Del Mar northbound to Vista Del Mar eastbound. So cameras face roughly, are placed around the building, face the different angles outwards towards the street.
Okay, so the bottommost one on the building label number 2, that one, that would have been facing towards the intersection of Vista Del Mar and Selma, correct?
Correct.
And that's the grainy surveillance video that we watched a number of times, correct?
Correct.
The very next one to the left of that, it looks like it's facing towards, yes, that one, the 6200 Hollywood building. What area would that have captured?
It's roughly, as the street begins to turn, that's roughly the front of the building. Would roughly cover kind of the pedestrian entrance to the building.
Okay. And then going up to the northmost part of the building, there's 2 additional cameras there, correct?
Correct.
Do those cameras kind of overlap in their coverage?
Yes, roughly they do.
All right. Go back to People's 15. The hard drive. There's a separate folder labeled 1616 Vista Del Mar. Detective, you see there's two files in that folder, correct?
Correct.
They both start with the word magic.
Yes.
Okay. The first one ends in the number 3000. I'm going to open up that file. And I'm going to make this bigger. Now, do you recognize what you see here?
Yes.
Can you describe this at all for the jurors?
Yes. Roughly, this is camera number 1 on would be the south side of the building at 1616.
Hold on one second. So before you number the cameras, they're actually labeled in the top left-hand corner, correct?
Correct.
So that the top leftmost corner would be camera 1, and there's no image display, correct?
Correct.
And then camera number 2 is the next one over in the top middle, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to skip forward. Is this how the video came to you when you first viewed it?
Yes.
I'm going to jump forward here. It's going to be hard for me to see up there, so I'm going to pull it over and then I'll bring it back for you. Right now I have it paused at 22:16:55. Okay, so we have it paused here. There's 4 cameras that are displayed, correct?
Correct.
And with each one of these represent cameras that we just talked about in that exhibit equals 33.
Yes.
And if you double click on the cameras, it makes them individual screens, correct?
Yes.
All right. This would be that one that faces towards Vista Del Mar and Selma?
Correct.
Okay. Let's go back out. Camera 3 would be that next camera to the left, which covers, you said, the front entrance of the building, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to jump over to camera, is that 5? I believe it's 5.
Correct.
All right. That area that we see in the top left of this camera, is that curve on Vista Del Mar that you were talking about?
Yes, that camera will be facing roughly west and south.
Where's the curve?
Correct.
And then the last one, camera 4. Which direction would that camera be facing?
That would be facing eastbound towards Front Central.
Got it. Okay. And if you play these videos on this player, would you agree that the 4 cameras that are displayed there play simultaneously?
Yes.
So they're each playing what they captured at that moment, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to start with camera 2. And we'll play it. Pause it. You could read the time at the bottom when I'm switch screens, but the timestamp at the bottom left here.
It's 22, 22, 17, 25.
Okay. All right. I'm going to jump over to camera 3, and I'll play at this portion. Pause it. The time.
22, 17, 29.
And so would that have shown the same person that we saw running away in camera 2 as crossing in front of the building?
Yes, it's in sequence.
Okay. We'll jump over to number 5 that faces the curve. I might have passed already, but I'll keep playing it from here. Is it moving?
It's not playing.
It's not playing. Okay. Now, would that be the same person that we saw in the last 2 cameras as well?
Yes.
Okay. And on camera number 4, is that individual now towards the top of the screen here?
Yes.
Finding it. And pausing it. Can you give us the time?
22, 17, 40.
Would that be when the man in the black sweatshirt meets up with the person who's wearing the red jacket?
Yes.
Can we go back in time a little bit? But you would agree that the sequence that we just played was sort of following the man in the black sweatshirt, correct?
Correct.
All right. Go back. I'm going to ask you to follow the other individuals that you see. Before I hit play, would you give us the timestamp again?
22, 16, 57.
All right. So we've gone back in time now. Would you agree?
Yes.
And I will hit play from here. So after the man in the black sweatshirt runs away, what does the man in the red jacket do?
He pauses initially, then he follows the man in the black sweatshirt.
And the other 2 individuals, you see one of them walking in the same direction that those man in the black and man in the red jacket went?
Yes.
Okay. Is he walking towards what would be El Centro?
Yes, he's walking northbound, this Del Mar, which turns to El Centro.
Then we go to camera 3. He's wearing a blue jacket, very simple.
Yes.
Now to camera 5. And then last thing, camera 4. Would you agree he walks up Vista Del Mar, makes that turn, and then walks towards El Centro?
Correct.
Do you recall the time, the amount of video that you collected from that location, the time specifically?
I do not. I believe there's two clips, different portions for 1616. This is Del Mar.
1 second then. Okay, Your Honor, we have written stipulations that will be entered. Do you want me to mark them as
Yes.
entered? Okay.
Yes.
So let's mark them as 35.
Sure. You have the first address with the stipulation.
I think I already did that, did I?
Did.
Yeah, I already did it. It's an agreement, it's just an agreement between both sides, a fact.
The further would be that stipulation would mean that once it's that fact is proven.
Beyond a reasonable doubt.
Does not even make determination.
Okay. I'm going to put it up and I'll read it into the record. I'm going to start with stipulation number 1. The parties stipulate as follows. Stipulation number 1. Surveillance video from 1616 Vista Del Mar Avenue. On November 9th, 2021, Detective Frank Flores and Carlos Camacho of the Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, downloaded surveillance video from the privately owned business at 1616 Vista Del Mar Avenue in Hollywood. The video was originally recorded between 10:10 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. and 11 p.m. to 11:20 p.m. on November 6, 2021. The surveillance video contained in People's Exhibit 15 is a true and correct copy of that video. The system video date and timestamp are accurate to actual time. So, Detective, you were saying you collect video between 2 different times, correct?
Correct.
So from 10:10 to 10:30, that would be a portion of which was just played as we went through the video, correct?
Yes.
Then the next one that you collected started a half an hour later.
Correct.
So did you personally watch any of the video between 10:30 p.m. and 11 p.m.?
I believe we screened it through that time period where we were present.
And what did that portion collect or capture, if you recall?
For my recollection, it didn't capture anything that we saw pertinent to the case.
Would it have captured the police or the patrol officer's response?
Yes, it would.
Okay. Did you collect the video between 10:30 p.m. to 11 p.m.?
I'm sorry?
Did you collect that video though from 10:30 to 11 p.m.?
No.
And why did you collect that video?
Again, we're focused on the time periods where the victim had indicated the incident occurred and he had returned.
So you were mainly focused on collecting video of the actual shooting incident, correct?
Correct.
Now, we heard through the stipulation, and I believe through your testimony, that you also collected video from 11 to 11:20, correct?
That's correct.
So why is it that you collected video from that portion of the video?
Again, there was indication that the victim said he had returned to recover evidence from the scene, so that's what we were trying to verify.
Had you spoken to Mr. Efron at that point?
I believe we had spoken to Mr. Efron before we went out to campus initially.
And he told you that he went back to collect it, correct?
Correct.
When he told you he went back to collect it, when did he tell you he went back?
He said roughly within an hour.
Okay, I'm going to go to that second video. So it's from the same system, correct?
Correct.
Go down to the second one. I know we're getting close to noon, Your Honor. If I could just cover this one topic and then we can break. Wait, let me get it queued up. have this second video paused at 23:09:44, which would be 11:09:44 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And there's only video collected from camera 2 at this portion, correct?
Correct.
I will play it forward from here. Do you see an individual with kind of a light colored top and a dark colored bottom pants walking around that area?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You have that cursor on? Pause it. A few questions for you. Can you read us the timestamp so we know what was played?
That's roughly 23:11:39.
Okay. Did you hear Mr. Efron's testimony in this case that he took a photograph just before he collected the cartridge casing, and the photograph was timestamped at 11:45 p.m.?
Yes, I did.
Did you have that precise time or piece of information about Mr. Efron returning to the scene when you collected this video?
No, not the exact time. Roughly, we had an hour.
And you had just a rough estimate from Mr. Efron, correct?
That's correct.
Not a precise.
We have to take a break.
I have 2 questions on this. If I just finish, sorry, earlier. Did Mr. Efron tell you that when he returned to the scene to collect those cartridge casings, that he was also with his girlfriend, or essentially with another person?
Yes, another person had gone along with him.
In the portion of the video that you just watched, did you see another person with that individual in the light top?
No.
Is the person in that portion of the video wearing clothing which was consistent with the clothing that Mr. Efron was wearing at the time of the shooting?
No.
As you sit here right now, do you still believe that the person depicted in that video is Mr. Efron?
Objection, Your Honor.
Well,
Speculation. It calls for speculation.
when you collected that video, did you initially believe that that was Mr. Efron?
Yes, we did.
Do you still believe that today?
Objection, Your Honor. His opinion as to whether it is or isn't Mr. Efron is
No speaking objections.
Sorry, but I was giving the reason.
Can I give an offer of proof, Your Honor?
Ask the question again.
Yes. You said when you collected the video, you thought that was Mr. Efron. The question is, as you sit here now, having more information, do you still believe that?
I don't.
Just what they would object.
We can say to make an offer.
The objection sustained. Ask.
And be stricken, please.
Yes, the answer is stricken. We'll break till 1:30, folks. Please be outside open doors and don't touch the case and no internet. No.
Put it on the record.